I am Tyron, son of Grawl, greatest war chief of the tribes. I will see this land destroyed, and any who walk upon it do as I say.
You are dangerous indeed. Father.
Last time, we looked at the StarCraft clone, and now we have a WarCraft successor. If you've never heard of this game, get ready, because I promise you, you're in for a treat. Armies of Exigo was the first game developed by Black Hole Entertainment, who went on to make Warhammer Mark of Chaos, Crazy Taxi, Fair Wars, and Heroes of Might and Magic 6. There was an entire fiasco where Black Hole blamed Ubisoft for removing key personnel from the project, failing to meet deadlines, and making wild changes like asking for 300 combat maps from the originally agreed upon 20. There's an entire article with details if you're interested, but the bottom line is Heroes 6 did not sell well and it killed them. But back to Exigo. Considering the failure of WarCraft 3 Reforged, let me offer an alternative that scratches the same itch and gives you an epic adventure in a game that's truly fun to play. Let's take a look. The alliance of humans, elves, dwarves and gnomes lived in peace until hordes of beastmen and their allies poured into the imperial lands, pillaging and destroying everything in their path. This invasion would be known as the Rage. And they fought with such ferocity that they nearly destroyed the empire, crippling themselves in the process. 70 years later, the beast tribes have been reunited under a new banner and have once again started beating the drums of war. In the meantime, another enemy lurks in the shadows, taking advantage of the new conflict to enact ancient plans, hundreds of years in the making, to plunge the world into darkness. This is where the game starts, and we'll have to deal with the conflict between the Empire, the Beast Tribes, and the fallen alien horrors across 3 great campaigns. The first thing you'll notice is the game running in a square. At some point, someone with enough game knowledge appeared on a forum, provided a modified exe file that makes the game run in 1080p, and then disappeared. It does break a few things, like the campaign menu and the skirmish color picker of all things, but we have workarounds for that. Just keep your original executable somewhere. You'll need both of them if you want to play all the campaigns. Recording this was also a struggle for some reason, as the game just hated my software, and eventually I got it working so you'll see more than a tiny box. Almost there. There we go. When it comes to visual presentation, the game has a few pre-rendered cutscenes that look too good to be made in 2004. You have one at the start of each campaign, and they really set the tone and feeling for the faction. From premonitions of ancient evils to the actual ancient evils moving around in creepy caves. I love all of them. Besides those, the game also uses a lot of in-game cutscenes like WarCraft, mostly at the start and end of each mission to tie in more story dialogue or set the scene. As a side effect of the widescreen fix, some cutscenes have a static image background that you can definitely see the edges of, and it looks like our heroes are watching a movie at the cinema. The maps are diverse, with the focus on seasons. Lush fields with forests in the summer, winter wonderlands, underground crypts, demon-infested caverns with molten lava, entire cities with little houses and streets, winding swampy paths, dusty canyons, ancient forest with huge trees, fully underground levels, and of course, apocalyptic end times. That's to say you'll spend more than half of the game either in a forest or underground. But the maps have plenty of detail that help build up an immersive world. There are day and night missions, but the game doesn't cycle between them like WarCraft. However, it does have a weather system, where you'll get rain or a snowy blizzard during the game. Each map is packed with storytelling details, wild animals, winding paths with artifacts, and side missions. It's been a while since I've played the game with optional secondary objectives that you have to discover on the map. The missions, where you unlock air units, are also really well made, to highlight their strengths, and usually have islands, rivers, or crevices breaking up the flow of the map to highlight their use. But what's a beautiful world without models? The humanoids lean a bit on the cartoony side with exaggerated proportions, but the other factions look a lot better. What's impressive is the sheer size of the roster. We've got humans, elves, dwarves, gnomes, at least 10 different neutral beasts, undead, ghosts, liches, golems, beastmen, phoenixes, harpies, lizardmen, ogres, orcs, mind flayers, a lot of insectoids, dark elves, dark dwarves, and you even run into Singaporean pirates at one point. The list is never ending. And they use this large cast of units to tell their story and to make it diverse. For me, this game feels more like a D&D campaign than anything else. It's all fun and games until the dwarf gets yoinked by the giant lobster. If you know me by now, I really like to look at the unit portraits, and the more unhinged they are, the better. A nice surprise here is the presence of animated portraits for each and every single unit in the game. They are really good and I can see this swordsman's soul by looking into his eyes. Their movements remind me of the portraits from Anno 1404, but these ones were made 5 years before Anno came out. God, how I miss Anno. The HUD is also quite pleasant. The theme, buttons, and even cursor change depending on the faction you're playing, and the game sports a bold 2 minimap design where you can replace the portraits with a map of the underground, letting you see and control both of them at the same time. You'll mostly hear armies bashing one another, but the first few levels when you have 1 or 2 units unlocked, you'll hear the same sword strike on a loop. You can try to adjust it in the audio settings, but the sound effects will also reduce things like the alerts, letting you know you're under attack. So I just kept everything level and I got used to it, for the most part. Also, why are the workers fighting for their lives when harvesting wood?
My lord, idea. Let's...
I initially thought the forest was fighting back, and honestly, the beast minion is the worst offender. The game has plenty of amazing tracks, but it's hard to tell sometimes, as there are long periods of silence. If you don't click on a house or a unit to hear something, you'd think your headset died. In one of the missions, a blizzard hit, and instead of hearing a chilling wind or anything you'd associate with snow, it just went dead silent. It's criminal, really, to have a great, immersive world that fights with its soundtrack. The music is there, just listen to some of these tracks. When it comes to voice acting, you have the regular unit quips when selecting, moving or attacking, and those sound mostly good. The game has a diverse cast of units, and for the most part the voice lines fit the characters. The Elven Valkyries are super happy to be flying.
Glide, glide, my eagle.
The Beastmen warriors are gritty and angry.
They cannot hide. I will find the enemy.
And the Lizardmen keep calling me daddy.
Yes, father.
But then you have things like the Dark Dwarves who sound like pugs. And I can't really pick on the fallen units since they're mostly bug sounds like fluttering wings, but the few characters who can actually articulate things are amazing.
The die is cast. The fate of you and your entire species is set. I will rend your flesh and send your soul into the trap to serve the fallen.
The heroes start to shine in the cutscenes where they can talk at length with each other, but the best one has to be Kieran. He plays the role of Eldritch Lord so well, it's a pleasure to hear him every time he pops up on screen. The same cannot be said about various other characters who lack passion and just feel rushed.
Attacked and slain my kinsmen. They are led by a white wolf, a monstrous beast. I beg you, defeat this creature and we will serve your cause.
I think, however, we must make certain this is our last encounter.
Your son had the same venom in his tongue before I cut it out.
Die witch.
Gameplay-wise, it's an old-school RTS where you want to take over expansions with resources to train more units and research upgrades. Some races fare better than others with a limited cash flow, but everyone will collect the same gold, wood and gems to advance. In case this is your first RTS, the game has a handy tutorial explaining how to gather resources, build structures and train units. Unlike some other games that just plop you down into the world and expect you to figure it out. Yes, I'm talking about you, Zephon. You have to explain things to people who click on the introduction game button. But I digress. I decided to call this a Warcraft 3 successor instead of a clone, because personally I think it does a lot of things better. Here are some key elements from the game. The main draw consists of the narrative adventure that's told across the campaigns. None of those diverging paths where, depending on the faction you play, they get to kill everyone else and evolve into weird space bird people. You can pick from 3 difficulty levels, so you can experience the story regardless if you want a walk in the park or a real challenge. And oh boy is it challenging on some missions. The population cap goes up to 200, but each faction gets to increase it in a different way. This is a hard limit, as the game can really start lagging when there are too many units and effects piled up in the same spot. A few control groups with auras and effects will make it feel choppy, and pray no weather effects start because that will also affect performance. I'm playing this on a decent rig, but it seems like the engine itself can't handle too many things at once. Still, I want to mention the sheer stability of this, as it never crashed on me, even when the game lagged like hell. I mentioned artifacts before, but this game really gives you a feeling of exploration, as every mission has secret items or quests waiting for you to discover them. A random path that goes underground, giant pack of rats defending a stash of potions. There are resource vaults you can capture for a small trickle of gold and wood, mage towers who grant different spells or just vision, or outlaw camps with mercenaries you can recruit. All of these tools are there at your disposal, and you're going to need them when playing on hard. There's one issue with the game that plagues me: the cursor isn't locked to the screen. To mitigate this, I use the arrow keys to move the camera, and for some reason it has this panning jerk at the end of the movement that feels so weird. I've never gotten motion sickness from an RTS game before, but I guess everything has a start. A big focus is also the underground system, where you have a second map with resources and treasures. The factions also have different ways of accessing this area besides the entrances. Imperial miner teams can build mineshaft elevators that go straight down. The Fallen can open dimensional portals to instantly move units across the map, and the beasts can form a gaseous form and leak through the ground into the caves below. Several casters also have different abilities that need to be used either below or above ground. All of this gives you a lot of versatility when it comes to moving units and planning attacks. When it comes to combat, we have a lot of units, and the melee ones are quite bulky and will try to encircle the enemy. So there is a lot of skill expression to be had in the way you position them to block units from attacking your backline or setting up choke points and ambushes. This means that you'll want a balanced composition with frontline units, plenty of archers and casters to heal and buff everyone, while raining down fire on the enemy. In terms of kill speed, slower than StarCraft but faster than WarCraft, meaning your units won't reach old age either way. We also have supergroups. A single selection or group can only hold 15 units, but you have the option of making up to 3 supergroups where you can assign multiple groups, letting you control the whole army at once, and they all fall neatly into formation. As opposed to WarCraft, where your heroes level up and gain experience, here everyone else except heroes and mechanical units can get up to level 5. Depending on the faction you're playing, this can mean different things. The Empire units gain experience individually, and they obtain small stat boosts and auras that affect the whole party, from damage absorption to speed and strength. You'll want to keep those veterans alive and resurrect them if killed in battle. The Beastmen also level up individually, but they gain increased stats to the point where a level 5 unit will get half of their damage stat as a bonus. And finally, the Fallen use a soul trap building to collect the experience of slain units and then level up collectively. With the power of the hive mind, there isn't time for individuality, and lessons learned are applied to all. This means that once you get to level 5, all newly trained units will start at level 5. Each faction also has access to powerful spells that require multiple casters to enact and maintain. It ranges from something basic like the Eclipse, letting you reduce the enemy sight range, to killing your witches to summon a Balrog. Beautiful stuff. It's also strange how the opening cinematic has the Empire fighting orcs, in something that could have been seen as a trailer for WarCraft 4. But orcs aren't part of the Beastmen horde, and you never fight them as the humans. It feels more like the opening of a Lord of the Rings game, to be honest. So let's take a deeper look at the factions, and what better way than to go through the campaigns. And I'll be playing them on hard to see what the game has to offer, and the gloves are off. The Empire. An alliance of humans, elves, dwarves and gnomes who occupy the lands of Noran, Theonia and Antares. Basically all the lush fertile lands, forcing the Beastmen into the barren howling plains. No wonder they all got mad and started attacking everyone. Our story begins with the death of the Archmage who led the Wizard Council of Noran, and his replacement, Ulrich Dolrey, who's haunted by visions of things to come. The first mission opens up with the Council of Wizards, where Saruman and Gollum, if he had never found the ring, argue in a room that looks like the trial from Harry Potter. The beasts are attacking again, and we must send reinforcements to the villages and towns on the border. Right off the bat we have hidden items, and a village that will teach you how to gather resources and build units. Visually, the Empire looks quite vanilla. Towers, keeps and garrisons that look like generic high fantasy buildings, but they're still pleasant to look at. We get attacked by the banana goblin. The wall of Margoth is broken and we have...
War. We are at war. The tribes have broken Margoth's wall. They've shattered our border defenses and are spilling through like water through a breach.
One of the mages should go in and help the defense, and our dear Ulrich volunteers for the task. This mission is a beast and the first wall of this game. We must reach the city with our party, and on the way we can clear out camps of beastmen for resources and meet up with priests from a nearby cloister. They are invaluable for any Empire army due to their cheap constant healing and bless spell that will boost our damage. We also get Ulrich himself, Grand Mage who can cast Protective Ward to reduce damage taken, and an AoE Storm that doesn't do a lot of damage and hurts the backline units who are too stupid to move out of it. Once we get the base, we have to start raising an army to take out the enemy siege weapons bombarding the city. This is where things start to go wrong for us. An endless wave of enemies descends on our base and they just won't stop. Look at them. I think the game is bugged or something, and it took me about 20 minutes of fighting for each step forward just to reach their base. By the time I do get to it, my units are all veterans and even the bison hordes are attacking me.
We are through. It was hard fought, my lord.
Yeah, no joke. I checked the scorecard at the end, and the enemy sent 913 units, my god. We reach the city, and we have to give Ulrich enough time to cast his magic spell. That puts us at the helm of a 30-minute defense mission in the city of Margoth. You can't really push out to deal with the enemies, since they have a lot of towers that keep sucking all the blood out of my units. It becomes too hard to defend from two places, so we retreat to the high ground using the narrow alleys as choke points to limit the horde. And I do mean horde. I fight to the last man until Ulrich is ready to cast Nuke. Ulrich is presumed dead in the explosion, and Prince Charming from Shrek reluctantly accepts the burden of leadership. But wait, Ulrich survived just in time to send him on another mission, to rekindle the old alliances and unite the kingdoms for the coming war. Starting with Lord Kieran's dominion. If you have a nose, you'll smell something's fishy with this guy. And speaking of fish, we reach one of his villages, only to find it under attack by Singaporean pirates, led by none other than Shao Feng. Taking out a few villages reduces the pressure of the attacking waves, and finally he dies in a giant mosh pit of unwashed masses. If it looks like I'm only making archers, that's because all the frontline people keep dying. But this was another map that was really fun to explore. Ulrich reaches the kingdom of Lord Vangarath, and he gets arrested immediately. So it's up to us to free him in another mission where the game shines. The underground is filled with rats and treasures beyond my wildest dreams, and we find an outlaw camp that will sell us the Fellowship of the Ring. We've got evil Gandalf, Gimli, and of course Strider. We also unlock this giant yak catapult piloted by our gnome allies, a wonderful addition to any army that wants to bring down towers. I mentioned in the Aatrox video that there weren't any mirror matches. Well, in this game, we're so deep in Empire versus Empire, they start bringing out their own priests. The traitor's castle is destroyed, but no trace of Vangarath nor Ulrich is to be found. Oh, wait, never mind, they left us maps. We reach the gnome village, and it appears that Vangarath has been terrorizing them as well. We unlock the gnome arcs, giant airships piloted by blind old men who can transport our units across the rivers. And I spent some time researching upgrades for the ships, namely cutting small holes in them so our archers can fire while moving. This sounds like a grand plan, and I already imagined myself clearing out the whole map with my flying fortresses. And it's horrible, it can't even one-shot a peasant throwing stones at me. One careful siege later, our daring rescue works, and Vangarath turns out to be a mind flayer. God, he looks so cool, I can't wait for the following campaign. Back home at the capital, Karen is getting ready to seize power once again, and we can see Ulrich in the doorway waiting to make his entrance.
Ulrich. Yes, Lord Karen.
You drama queen. We confront him and we get another shapeshifter. You'd think the mages could sniff them out, but no. We set out once again to fight the beasts, and our airship crashes in the magical forest that drains you of your magic. Neat! If you've had the demo disc for this game, you'll recognize the mission as is the one from the demo. We get a base and I barely managed to saturate all my gold lines, and the enemy is bringing ogres. Okay, I see what you're doing, game, okay. For a while I suspected that Ulrich was replaced by a shapeshifter as well, but it turns out it was just bad voice acting.
There!
How did you know?
Hitman. Rally your men to you. Get them into the passage and down into the cavern below. Do it now!
We get chased into a cave by some ogres, and we'll call this the Cave of Craft Star. It's big enough to build a stronghold in, it has mineral patches with both gems and gold, and we fight the Not Zerg on the Not Creep. We unlock the Tower of Isengard with mages to recruit, and tier 3 upgrades, that means fire arrows, perfect to burn out the bug infestation.
Tis a good thing they cannot reach us from there.
Fool.
Jokes aside, the alien base looks really cool and a few rays of sunlight mark the exit of this cavern. We meet up with the last messenger, and the grace of the Holy See smiles upon us. Wait, what do you mean the Holy See? Is the Vatican involved? I never knew the Empire had so many diverse races. Humans, elves, gnomes, Italians, dwarves.
Ulrich Dore of Noran, High Lord of the Council of Mages. That scheming cabal of laughable old fools who call themselves wizards.
We do get to meet Inquisitor Belloc, who's one of the funniest characters in the game, and meets back on the menu, boys. We've got more beasts to put down. In this mission, we actually get an AI ally who sends out attacks constantly. We unlock the Steam Birds, the Valkyries, as well as the boob job upgrades, so this is our air mission. After clearing out the first enemy base, they send out a demon of the ancient world, who, as it turns out, is made out of paper and dies like a goblin in front of my towers. And the final mission of the Empire campaign, we've returned to Margoth to defeat the beast threat once and for all. Our ally doesn't do much beside feed the local ogre, so it's up to us. I wipe out Green's base and return home to repair and heal up. By the time I return, everything's back up and running. I swear I've destroyed this base at least 4 times during the course of this mission. The AI doesn't train units, it just spawns them from buildings for free, so keeping their structures down is very important. And if one worker lives, he's going to rebuild the whole tribe. The day is won and the final cutscene is playing. The leader of the beasts escaped, the rage is happening once again, and it's unclear what Karen and Vangarat had planned all this time. Also, who keeps pacing around like this when talking to friends? Yeah, so I think there's some aliens around here and we should do something about it. Maybe something to... While the Empire is my least favorite faction, they do a good job of introducing the game mechanics to you, since they're easy to learn and straightforward with strong units, but slow to build and expensive. From a story perspective, it makes sense to start with them, and they introduce all the big players early. The campaign pacing was excellent, with each mission unlocking new units and upgrades that made sense. Ulrich as a character is a bit strange, like I said I thought he was an alien at times, while Dunhelm and Belloc steal the spotlight in this campaign. I didn't get to use the Dryad, as it doesn't seem to be all that useful, and the minor team doesn't have a mission to shine in, sadly. One thing I really enjoyed is the map loading screen that shows you the path you've taken in each prior mission. The hard difficulty really gives you a challenge, and there are a few missions that almost took an hour to beat. But if you can beat the Endless Horde on mission 3, the rest won't be a problem. 5 out of 5 no marks. The Fallen, a race of ancient eldritch horrors from another dimension, plotting in the shadows. Oh, wait, before we get deeper into this. Once you finish the Empire campaign and unlock the Fallen one, you'll notice the second you enter the campaigns menu that the black square is blocking out all of the campaigns. You can press enter to play the tutorial again, but that's not much use at this point. This is a known bug with the modified widescreen fix, so you'll have to start the game from the original file, watch the cutscene, save the game once you're in-game, and then open it from the other executable and load the save. It's annoying, but you only have to do it once for the Fallen and once for the Beasts. Now, where was I? Eldritch Horrors, other dimensions... Plotting in the shadows to enact schemes hundreds of years old, to bring the planet into their own dimension to consume it. And to do this, they've allied with the Dark Elves and enslaved an insectoid race from the depths of the earth. Also, this cutscene is so good, I keep having to remind myself it's 2004. It all starts with the creepy cave in which Karen has retreated. The tradition of weird stuff in jars continues as we meet the ageless ancients of our race, who live in these blue frosty dildos. A cosmic event is approaching, one that happens only once every 500 years, and we must use it to open the heart of darkness and plunge this world into chaos. You know, the floating bean from Ulrich's tower. We start with a small base and we have to find 4 not Zerg queens to bring back under our command. I hope you like the cave life, as we'll spend plenty of missions in them. Our workers are giant lobsters, and our builders can summon structures without needing to build them, just like the Protoss would. All our buildings are monstrous creations of dark stone, chitin and other bug parts that feel grown, not built. And they need to be placed on defiled ground, our very own version of creep that heals us. We gain supply by rooting down our builders into control forms, allowing them to expand our mental control over the insects, and in most missions you'll end up with a small forest of them in some corner of the base. While Ulrich has a decent AoE spell, Kieran can freeze units, giving them increased armor, letting me split the enemy waves into kill now and kill later groups. I use him and some spitters as a distraction, while I fly my stingers over a chasm to kill the queen. The camera then pans over to Karen, and he gets killed mid-dialogue in the funniest cutscene ever. Damn Dark Elves stole my queen and ruined my plans for world domination. We ally with the disgusting Princess Domina of the Dark Elves, and I can tell Kieran's voice actor had a lot of fun in this role.
Disadvantage, lady. You know me, but I do not recall having met you. Be that as it may, it isn't a princess I seek, but a queen. You have the mother of the hive. I want her back.
We unlock the Spitter, backbone of all fallen armies, and the Soul Trap, letting us level our units with each enemy killed. I feel like this faction needs more than one base to shine, as the Spitters are quite expensive and the Stingers aren't a good frontline unit. So in order to consume the planet, we have to break the 3 seals of Ruanan, ancient mage who stopped our fathers from winning 500 years ago. Problem is, we don't know where their seals are. So in this next mission, Domina is trying to escape the underworld to reach the tomb of Ruanan. We get Nightmares, who are pretty much the same as Spitters, only more expensive, but they can cast Frost Shield at least. Domina is a matriarch, meaning we can auto-cast Rise the Dead to supplement our army with the numbers we need from those pesky dwarves that won't let us leave the caves. Ah, fresh air at last. We get more matriarchs to raise all the skeletons in the world, and we punch a few elves and spiders on our way to the tomb. Inside we find Ruanan living his best life as a lich, we kill him again and Domina uses her powers to interrogate his spirit. One spectral waterboarding later, we learn the location of the seals, so we have our work cut out for us. We get our Seeker, invisible parasite that can burrow anywhere, and also infect our own units to provide healing outside of the creep. I've grown to like them so much, and from here on out, scouting the entire map will be a piece of cake. The enemy will keep sending minor teams that won't stop building elevators that bring units down to our realm. It got so bad that I had to set up patrol routes to watch out for the pickaxe midgets. We also spread our wings a bit with the Hive Guard, a large flying bug that slows down enemy attacks. Securing the underworld lets us profit from 3 bases, giving us the resources to make a large army of Stingers and Hive Guard who can fly up through the crevice, onto the surface and into the enemy base, letting us destroy the tower defending the final elevator. And once we get control of it, Kieran can ascend, and once he also experiences fresh air, we've won.
Armies all weak. You have no hope. Soon darkness shall swallow this world.
We Skype call the Ancients, and they let us know that Ulrich is on our trail with a large army. So we have 25 minutes to build a base and repair the bridges over the giant chasm. We finally unlock a siege weapon, the Avenger. He doesn't look too happy considering he's fused with the crab. I've made good progress and reached the last island, only to realize I wasn't making good progress and I was quickly running out of time. So I sacrificed my units as a distraction, while Kieran sneaks on over to the passage. With Ulrich on our tail, we stop him by chanting the forbidden magic to cast Summon Rock and defeat him forever. The seal is in a nearby cave under a mountain of ice, and by the grace of the Dark Dreamer, we gain the Gateway. Excited, I make one only to realize the only unit we can make from it is a bloated transport. Thanks, I guess. Another fun mission where the Seekers scout the entire map to find new locations to expand to. It's also funny how you can just move around and pick up resources from under their noses. Imagine an invisible centipede that comes to drag your wood pile away. The enemy has a well-defended base in the north, and I have the feeling they don't want you to take this one. Joke's on them, because I can use the balloons to drop some Avengers on the cliffs above their gold line. With everyone distracted, our Hive Guards can fly in and slowly chip away at the base until there's nothing left. Deep in the cave, we're surrounded by the enemy, and we must defend Kerrigan for 30 minutes until she emerges from her chrysalis. No, wait, wrong script. We have to defend Kieran for 30 minutes until his metamorphosis is complete.
Emotional tide that will sweep over this world. Do not falter now, and do not underestimate the boy mage Ulrich.
I imagine the Dark Dreamer to be an evil entity from another dimension, but he sounds like a Monty Python character. After we break the seals, he's going to ask me to bring him a shrubbery for sure. We unlock an upgrade to turn our spires into chain lightning spires, and in this mission you need to plaster them everywhere. The attacks are manageable but quickly ramp up in intensity. Luckily, so do my defenses. With my upgrades done, I'm just waiting for the timer to run out, and by the end it gets really laggy. Kieran emerges as the Avatar of Darkness while a huge army breaks down my base. How the hell are you supposed to stop this onslaught? I thought the beasts were supposed to be the horde. With my base raised, I escape with the Avatar through a gateway that leads to the back of the enemy base. He looks like a symphony conductor taking down everything by himself, but since my objective is to kill all the humans, I don't see how I can achieve this alone. An important lesson to learn is that the enemy doesn't have any range units, so I restart and make some flyers. I brace for the worst, but the giant attack wave never comes. It must have been bugged or something.
This is not possible.
Llewellyn's law is useless against me. I am the Avatar of Darkness.
It's over, Ulrich. I have the high ground. Kieran is too overpowered now with 100 attacks, so we're playing with Vangarath. The way to the second seal is blocked by some tribes. There's a nearby base I got really early, and the enemy kept dropping workers in gas form to try and mine from it for some reason. And now it's time for the Fallen special. Ascend 2 of your summoners into Void Walkers, use one of them to shapeshift into a Seeker, and burrow to the back of the enemy base. Now quickly end the transformation and select both of them at the same time to cast Dimensional Door, opening a portal between the 2 of them. We can now warp our entire army in the enemy's backline, assassinating all of their leaders. We're also stuck in another swamp with goblins and lizards. I wish my Seeker knew how to read signs. After wiping out a small goblin tribe and dealing with a suspiciously large lizardman attack, we can take out their encampment easily. The new unit for this mission is the Stalker, an anti-air air unit that can cast Defile, not letting the enemy range units attack from under its effect. It looks great too, and the portrait has puppy eyes. Vangarath takes out the second seal, and it's a bit sad he doesn't get any gifts for his work. The next mission starts with another council meeting, and all the wizards look like they ate some bad food at the Mage Tower cantina. Anyway, we get Kieran back, and together with Domina, we set out to find the last seal. It's a quick no-build mission, and we mostly fight bugs and dark dwarves. They eventually join us, and I make the horrifying discovery that they all have a single voice line, and it sounds like a dog. Back on the surface, we meet the orcs of the Rabbit Wolves clan. I'm sad to see the horde fell on some bad times with the Frost Wolves going rabid and all. And now the final mission of the Fallen campaign. Even the cutscene lags in anticipation at this point. We are stuck in the middle of a war between the Empire and the Beasts. We have to defend against both of them, and we unlock the last unit we've been missing, the Beholder, a giant flying tentacle horror, the ultimate weapon for the final war. After dealing with a strong beast offensive, I build up my army to siege them, only to discover the Imperial army is attacking me from their base. The Beastmen got cleared out completely, making my life easier while I focus on the humans alone. We plant Domina in the middle of the map and defend against some mage attacks for 5 minutes. Once that's done, we can bring Kieran in the portal, where we meet the 2 primordial fathers of the fallen race, and free them. I liked all the scheming in this campaign, and Kieran is such a fun character. He's overconfident and sassy, and the voice acting is constantly on point. I find it funny how he basically used his real name while disguised as a human. Imagine meeting an alien from another dimension, and his name is Angus. In the end, the Fallen may look like the Swarm, but they play like the Protoss. The Hives are gateways for expensive units, but once you get the ball rolling, they're unstoppable. The Soul Trap, combined with many great units and casters, makes for a fun faction to play. They had fewer big moments and side quests, but I've had a blast so far, and they are my favorite faction. 5 out of 5 lobsters. The Beastmen tribes, a coalition of, well, beastmen Goblins, ogres, lizardmen, and a menagerie of monstrous mounts. Ferocious warriors who fight for land and honor in the new rage. It all starts with Draga sounding the call to war and the horde rallying to his father's banner. The great uniter, Tyron, son of Groll. Draga looks like a dry Mexican alien, and we get tasked with finding the tribes who did not answer the call. I agree to help some goblins by rescuing their leader, and there's an instant drop in quality from the other campaigns. Some of the orcs sound alright, while the others are not so good.
I took this prey down. It is mine by rights.
Nay, scurvy rat-faced, it is mine. I claim it by right of age.
The goblin shaman doesn't sound like a goblin, or a shaman, in my opinion.
I have ears, do I not? Taransan is hereabouts, says the wind. Seeking counsel with Grogan Khan, says the rain.
And this might be caused by the unintended widescreen, but you can see how barren this area is in his cutscene. At least we get poison resistance. Eventually I reach a cave with an artifact, and some undead spawn to punish me for stealing it, but they have to wait for the dialogue and they spawn so late there isn't anyone left to punish. Once we get a witch, we're introduced to the healing mechanic for this faction. Why build priests or stay on creep to heal for free when you can sacrifice a unit to distribute his HP to everyone else? We reach the Ungladir tribe, and it looks like the old boss was replaced by the treacherous witches. We must fight to subdue the tribes, and the game ramps up in difficulty from the second mission. This took me a few tries, since they can attack us from multiple sides, and if I dare to leave my base, I'll find it razed to the ground when I return. So here's the strategy. We send 2 goblins to the south to secure a resource cache and steal an artifact from some golems. The first target should be the small ogre camp, where we assassinate their leader, using the power of the stone golem. They are now back in the fold, and we'll send their annoying attack waves at someone else. From here it's easy to take out the witches controlling the blue tribe, and while I prepare to attack green, they manage to clear out the third base on their own. With the tribes back, we have to strike against the orcs that stole the sires of our Boron herd. The Beastmen increased their population cap by training these big Borons. Just like overlords, but instead of vision, they grant us sausages. This next mission has a fun twist where you can't increase your population, and you must fight the enemy to recapture members of the herd to bring back home. Once we get all of them, the orc warchief Krell, will spawn and gladly run into our towers to die. We get to fight Belloc this time. We also get access to the heavy boys, the ogres and trolls, perfect for a siege mission. I take out the human base outside the wall of Noran, and another opponent rears its ugly head. The fallen are upon us with their bugs. Clearing the underground is not a hard task, but strangely it's also filled with possessed humans. It seems pious old Belloc here is actually the leader of a demon cult. I feel like I'm reading the plot of a Warhammer book. While we do raise the city, he escapes on an airship, and we hopefully get him another day. At this point, Draga starts to grow on me. He wants to prove his worth and has a sense of honor, while the Beast faction can really gather some strong numbers if you let them snowball.
By what right did you go against my will? I'm war chief of the tribes. It is by my word alone that the war leaders conduct this war.
I'm not sure yet, but I think my father is either a shapeshifter or just plain insane. The great lizards are under siege by the humans, and we must send aid to Lord Seath by using the underground tunnels. The caves are filled with bugs and dwarves who get a voice filter in the middle of the conversation.
We are mercenaries, warrior. We will serve anyone who has the wealth to pay our price.
We take out some fallen bases and the voidwalkers who keep opening dimensional doors. Dodge some mines. Hey, you know anti-personnel mines are forbidden by the Ottawa Convention? Let me just disarm those. There's also an outpost that sells units, including priests. Yes, free healing at last. You don't know how much this faction needs it. With one last final stand, our caravan reaches the exit. Master Seath is surrounded and there are plenty of Imperials to stomp. We get access to the Lizard Keep, which means Striders, Warlocks and Wyverns. This doesn't seem like an air mission to me, but the Striders will serve us well, as they are invisible when not moving.
Yes, father.
They also call me their father, so here you have it, the confirmation that I am a lizard man with lizard children. We attack the northern base, and Tyron comes to our aid with a large army of trolls and ogres, enough to raise the whole map. Father won't listen about the true enemy from the shadows. He's either blind or one of them. In the next mission, we actually get to play as Tyron. Sadly, none of the beast heroes have any abilities, just beefed up versions of the base unit. But it turns out to be a fun mission. The map is mostly empty and there's an unholy looking crevice stopping us from reaching Belloc, who apparently stole something from us. The underground, however, is filled to the brim with cultists and the enemy will constantly summon demons to fight us. Luckily, we can just kill the priests and replace them with our own witches to gain control of the demons. With the underground secured and 5 demons ready, I use their dimensional shift ability to teleport them into Belloc's face and command them to explode, killing him instantly in the blast. Turns out he had the demon medallion all along and now it's ours again. Back to Draga, as we set out to kill the mages of the Grey Tower, but the Fallen got to them first. They did however manage to put a spell on them, making the hives dormant for a little while. I decided to use this opportunity to take out the green hive and secure a second base early. The attacks aren't that strong and the last hive is hiding on top of a cliff. And while we do have the gas form to get up there, I feel a wyvern spam would do a better job. We do get to meet Ulrich and agree that we shouldn't fight each other while the Fallen devour the world. We confront Tyron with actual proof and he still won't listen to us. His madness will kill us all.
The spirits. You are obsessed with them. They speak only to you. Your madness has weakened the tribes. You overlook the true enemy laying before you.
He speaks true, Tyron. We must ally with the humans, or this new threat will destroy us all.
Fools. If you do not stand with me, you stand as my enemy.
We get disowned and join up with the humans in the fight against the Fallen. We get the Manticore Rider, who truly looks insane, and after almost losing the mission, I decide to leave Draga at the human church to pray for healing. I decide to go for Wyverns and Manticores, and the enemy starts sending spies with portals to bring beholders right into our bases. I manage to take out one base, but the other one decides to double its attacks, so it's all the same except they're only attacking my side now. Once the top part is clear, we have to clear out the underground as well, and while I can't bring my flyers down there through the passage, I can kill them all while building many revive altars underground. These will allow me to resurrect our dead units and keep their veterancy. I did say I was going for an air composition, so our wings will darken the cave, I guess. This mission felt like it took a while, and checking the scorecard, it took me 1 hour and 40 minutes. What the hell did I do wrong? Father went mad and now tries to awaken the Lizard Queen as a weapon for the war. We now start a race between us and him through the volcanic passages of the Sacred Mountain. The map consists of many chambers that are either fights or puzzles. We open seals, dodge traps, navigate rock labyrinths, and many more. He gets to push boxes while I die fighting against the burning undead. Eventually I pass through the 17 chambers and reach the Queen, only for Tyron to awaken her anyway. Her voice is weird, but at least the death is funny.
Father.
We march on the Obsidian Tower to end this, and we get to see the last tile set, End of the World Crevice Grey, and we now have to babysit 3 heroes that will lose us the mission if any of them die. We must bring down the enemy barrier defending the approach to the tower, so this is the true air mission of the campaign, with Tiamorg leading the charge with our Manticores and Wyverns in tow. 1 base down, 2 bases down, and 3 bases down. With the force field removed, there is a huge pink base, and Seat's dialogue cuts off mid-sentence while telling me of the endless waves of the Fallen. It must have been a bug or something because they barely had any units in there, so 1 quick cleanup later, we've won. And now, for the final mission of the whole game, we team up with Ulrich to strap Kieran and the 2 fathers. This mission lives up to the name as we get 2 bases, 1 beast, 1 empire, we actually get to control, letting us ramp up quickly and take over the map. The underground is filled with enemies, and their attacks are fierce. Using the combined armies of man and beast, I march in there and clash with Vangarath, the mini-boss encounter with 8000 HP. The other smaller bases fall easily to our might, and we get to bring Ulrich and Draga past the landing spires to the foot of the tower. We get the final cutscene. Ulrich becomes weak when Kieran grabs his staff, Draga manages to smash the stone and it all goes boom. The end. This campaign forgoes the usual 1 unit per mission rule, but instead gives us a handful of new units to use for a few missions. It didn't start as strong as the others, but ramped up in quality and mission diversity about 4 chapters in. Draga is hit or miss, Most of the time he mumbles things, but his heart is in the right place. But I can't get over his alien head and his walk like someone broke his spine. The beasts also have, in my opinion, the best caster in the game. He's got 6 spells and honestly, all of them are good. He can steal buffs, summon serpents and poison clouds, cast Earthquake, Meteor and Firestorm, while also being invisible when not moving. They left the story open-ended, probably to leave room for a sequel, but that never happened, and with the studio gone, it never will. 4 out of 5 banana goblins on Borons. The multiplayer mode still works. There is a small but dedicated community that's still active to this day. With 55 maps split between skirmish and custom games, they're more than enough to get your fix, and should you want more, their Discord server is the place to go. They recommend using the Radmin VPN client, and true enough, it didn't work with anything else I tried. One dubious software installation later, it works. Although I don't want to see how hard the game lags with 8 maxed out armies fighting at the same time. To cover the shame of the rush that killed me in the last video, I've decided to pour a bucket of bugs on top of my poor beast friend with a dimensional gate in the back of the base. Another crushing victory for the Fallen. In the end, I'm glad to have played this one. It really was an enjoyable experience with plenty of challenges and interesting mechanics. Hopefully you'll give it a shot as well. With Monster Hunter Wilds on the horizon, I think the next video will take a bit longer to make, since I'm really excited for that one. I also want to welcome everyone who subscribed and to thank each and every one of you for the surge of supportive comments. I do read every single one of them. Take care and I'll see you in the next one.